Welcome to episode 17 of Take Charge of the Classroom, a web series designed to disrupt outdated behavior management models and help you create the classroom culture of your dreams. In this episode, we are looking at purpose. Why are you a teacher? Why do you put up with everything that you put up with? What gets you up and going in the morning? Because that is going to be more important than you can ever imagine. So, in this particular round through our Take Charge Immediate Impact sequence, we've already looked at the confidence you have as a teacher through understanding that protection is your primary reason for being in the classroom. You need to protect students from any emotional or psychological dangers, right? You need to cultivate that attitude of positivity and use that to presume positive intent when you're interacting with students. But then how can we help students in the tasks that we give them and in the responsibilities that we give them? Just get this idea of this purpose, that we're all in this together and that we all are on the same team. So before we dive into that, let's just come back to your purpose as a teacher. So if you've made it all the way this far into the web series, then you are definitely looking at this teaching profession, knowing that it's not just an 8 to 3 job. It's not something you just roll in 5 minutes for class, get up, do some stuff, and then you leave right when the kids do. There's not many jobs out there that let you do that, but I'm sure there are a few. Teaching is definitely not one of them. You are their teacher. That is what you are paid to do. You are paid to teach content. But you're also going to be a surrogate parent. For some of these students, you might actually spend more time with them than their parents do while they're awake, especially if their parents are gone a lot or they might work 2 jobs. You might be the closest thing they have to a parent, not only just because of the amount of time that you spend with them, but also because of an emotional connection and attachment that you might form with them. You're also their counselor. You are a trusted adult, and so students are going to open up to you. And one of your many jobs is to help counsel them through difficult situations. You've got to take that into the core of your being. You are there to help, not just to teach content, because the heart of teaching is students, not content. So you're a surrogate parent. You're a counselor. You might also be a social worker. You're going to notice things. You're going to notice some irregularities. You might notice that their family needs a little bit of assistance with maybe meals, maybe with some medical attention. You might notice some issues that you have to call Child Protective Services. So you've got more job titles than simply 4th grade teacher, right? Or Algebra 1 teacher. You might be a behavioral therapist. You're going to get a few of these students that show up on your roster, and you're going to think they might need a jacket with really long sleeves and a padded room. But that's not going to happen. So your job is to help diagnose and try to correct any aberrant behavior. Probably your principal, your grade level chair might ask you to help develop a little bit of curriculum, right? Ideally, you just open up the book and teach what comes from the book, but you know that you can never get a really good curriculum straight out of the box. You always have to add something to it. And sometimes districts are large enough to be able to pay people internally to do that, but sometimes it's you. So you've got to do all these things, and you've got to plan parties, right? You've got to make sure you've got some fun activities, and you've got to have fun hopefully you get some assistance from a room mom, but sometimes that just doesn't happen. So you've got to make sure you bring everyone in, and you have to make sure you honor everyone's culture and religious traditions and preferences, and maybe this kid can't eat this, and maybe this student doesn't celebrate this holiday. You've got a lot of things going. So teaching is taxing. It's incredibly difficult. But guys, it can and it will give your life meaning and purpose. One of the things that I want to just stress in this particular episode is that teaching is difficult. And as Brené Brown says in some of her books, everything sucks most of the time. All right, so teaching, there will be times when you're going to think, this is horrible. I need to be selling real estate. This is not what I signed up for. You might have signed up to be a 4th grade teacher or an Algebra 1 teacher. You didn't sign up to be a social worker or a party planner or a curriculum developer, but that's what the job requires. So put it all the way out there. This is what teaching requires. It requires a lot. It requires a lot from your emotional reserves, from your mental capacity. It is incredibly difficult and complex. There is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all solution. But after you wade through all of that stuff at the end, realize what you're left with. You have the ability to change lives. Every day you show up, you're touching the future. And so if you can dig past all of those extra job titles and just really realize what the core of teaching is, right? You are shaping the future every single day. You are building into the lives of students. Hold on to that, because if you can hold on to your true purpose for teaching, then that's going to give you the strength and energy when some of that other stuff starts to bite you in the rear, like the CPS call that you've got to make, or the test that you've got to write because no one remembered to write the common assessment test, and you've got to suddenly do that real quick. All of these things that are going to wear on your energy, unless you refuel with a deeper purpose, eventually this is going to lead to burnout. And so that's my purpose, right? My purpose in education is to touch lives, is to change and impact the future, and to leave this world a better place. But what's yours? Yours might be slightly different. There might be someone in your past, a teacher that really changed your life, and they changed the course of your life, and you want to give back. Whatever it is, find that purpose. Find that reason that you are a teacher that incorporates all of this mess. Because when you need to get through that, you're going to have to dig below there and find that true purpose. Now, how can we help students develop a class purpose? So you might know you're there, but what if the students don't know why they're there? How can we help them become responsible for each other? So this is a sample of a class mantra. It's a call and response that you teach your students. And this is something that I would use. Obviously, there's more than one option out there, and it's best to kind of co-create this with students. But think about if you had a little chant every single day that you said with your students. And it starts with a simple question. You say, "Why are we here?" Students respond in unison, "To learn as much as we can." You know, a lot of students don't necessarily have that as their purpose, right? You ask them, "Why are we here?" And they might say, "Because we have to be. Because my mom kicks me out of the house at 7:30, won't let me back in until 4. They might say, "I'm here." They don't know why they're there. They're there simply to talk to their friends. How many students, if you honestly got a response from them about why they show up to school every day, would put learning somewhere in there? We know that's why they're there, but do they know that's why they're there? Because if we can help develop a class purpose, then that is going to help, just like everything else in this web series, start to eat away at those misbehaviors that we want to eliminate. So, teacher, why are we here? Students, to learn as much as we can. Learning is the goal. And we're not just going to learn grade level curriculum. We're not just going to pass a test. We're going to learn as much as we can. Second question, how do we best learn? Right? So they're contingent. First answer says we're going to learn. Second question says, how do we best learn? By helping each other succeed. This is where sometimes misbehavior starts to crop up, is when students forget the fact that they're on the same team and they start backbiting. They start stabbing each other in the back as they're climbing their way out of whatever pit they came in on or came in with inside their hearts, inside their minds, inside their past academic careers, right? They might think that life is a zero-sum game. So zero-sum means if I'm winning, you're losing. If I'm positive, you're negative. It all ends up at zero. So we both can't succeed, and that's just simply not true. This helps open up this win-win scenario so that students know that we best learn when we help each other. And if they can take the responsibility of their classmates on for them, if they realize that if I'm winning, you're winning, but if I'm losing, you're losing, well, then that's going to make me as a student look out not only for my own interests, but also for the interests of others. And isn't that what we want? We want students to be cooperative. We want them to help push each other, challenge each other, hold each other to high expectations, even behavioral expectations. That's when you know that class is taking it to the next level, is when the students are holding each other accountable, right? And how do they start holding each other accountable without being, crazy dictatorial? Well, it's because they have a purpose. Like, they have to all work together. Sports teams, typically, they know what that purpose is, right? They're going to win the game, win the championship. So will sports teams hold each other accountable when you've got members that are slacking off or teammates that aren't necessarily doing what they need to? Absolutely, they will. Because their individual success is tied to a larger team success. Well, the same thing can happen inside a classroom. What if we had students that had that class purpose of, we're here to learn as much as we can, but the only way to do it is to help each other succeed. If I'm succeeding, you're succeeding. But if I'm failing, you're failing. Then that helps build that camaraderie, and that helps build that class purpose. And then finally, who is responsible? Third question. Who is responsible for learning? And the students respond with two answers. I am, we are. Right? So we want students to understand that learning is done by them. It's not to them. They're responsible for their learning. So if they want to learn, they've got to put something into it. That's their responsibility. So this helps drive that purpose. But then they answer again, we are. So if I'm one of the students, I'm responsible not only for my own learning, but I'm also responsible for the learning of my friend. I'm responsible because my actions, if I'm talking, if I'm messing around, if I'm flicking paper wads at that student, well then I'm responsible for that student's learning, and I'm actually getting in the way. So I need to shape up. So imagine if you were to use this mantra, this call and response with your students, and they memorize it. It's really short. It's got a series of questions they answer, but they start to internalize it. We are responsible for learning. We learn by helping each other succeed, and we are here to learn as much as we can. So you need to know your purpose, but your class needs to develop a class purpose. And if you do that, guess what? This largely eliminates misbehavior and all of the things that crop up that get in the way of learning, because we have a focused purpose. Guys, teaching is not for the faint of heart. Think about all those extra job descriptions and those job duties that are not necessarily in the printed job description, but you know they're there. The surrogate parents, the counselor, social worker. But together, we can do it, because we have to dive deep into our own purpose and then help students and the class find its own purpose as a collective. So thank you, as always, for watching this. You can learn more at aarondaffern.com/takecharge. You can email me, or you can follow me on Twitter at Aaron Daffern.